The studio lights were blinding, but Captain Ibrahim Traore didn't flinch. He sat forward, his voice calm yet urgent. "This message is for every Black American," he began. "I'm not here as a president, but as your brother. The truth you've been denied is costing you your future." The air in the room tightened. Reporters stopped typing. You could hear the faint hum of the cameras. Traore spoke about history. Pieces hidden, voices erased, deals signed without the people's consent. His tone wasn't angry. It was heavy, like a man carrying the weight of generations. Some nodded. Others shifted uneasily. Then, from the side of the stage, Whoopi Goldberg, invited as a co-host, leaned in, her face unreadable. "Ibrahim," she said softly, "do you really believe they'll listen?" The question sliced through the silence. Traore met her gaze. "If they hear the truth, they won't have a choice." But as he spoke, a producer in the back made a sudden, frantic hand signal to cut to commercial, and the screen went black for millions watching. When the broadcast returned, Traore was still seated, but his voice was gone from the speakers. The station had muted him. Viewers at home flooded social media. "Why can't we hear him? What's going on?" Whoopi's eyes darted toward the control booth. She wasn't smiling anymore. She reached out, touching Traore's hand under the table, a brief, almost hidden gesture. In that moment, she whispered, "They don't want you to finish, but I have something they can't mute." Her words stunned him. The tension in the room was electric. Even without sound, you could feel the danger. The smell of overheated stage lights mixed with the faint scent of burnt coffee from the crew's corner, making the air oddly suffocating. Whoopi sat back up, her eyes sharp. She looked into the camera and, with her mic still live, spoke directly to the audience. "What you're about to see," she said slowly, "was never meant to reach you." A hush fell. On the monitor behind them, an old, grainy video began to play. The footage was shaky, filmed years ago in a crowded room. Politicians, both African and American, were seated at a long table. The audio crackled, but the words were clear enough to freeze every person in the studio. "We control the narrative. We control the people." Gasps echoed. Traore's jaw tightened. The same truths he had tried to explain were now laid bare for the world to see. Whoopi's hands trembled slightly, but she didn't look away from the screen. This wasn't the Whoopi people saw cracking jokes on TV. This was a woman risking her career. Suddenly, the screen flickered. A warning message flashed. "Unauthorized content detected. Transmission will be terminated." The control room erupted in chaos. A producer shouted, "Cut it now!" Crew members scrambled. Cables snapped underfoot. Traore leaned toward the camera, his voice finally back. "To my brothers and sisters in America, they have silenced you for too long. Stand together. The time is..." The screen cut to static. Viewers were left staring at the noise, hearts pounding, minds racing. What was he about to say? The screen remained dark for what felt like an eternity. Millions held their breath, waiting for Traore's voice to return. Backstage, Whoopi paced, her mind racing. She had just broken the biggest silence she'd ever witnessed on live TV. But now everyone wanted answers, and the powers that be were scrambling to bury them. A technician whispered urgently in her ear, "They're trying to cut the feed for good. This might be your last chance." Her fingers tightened around the mic. The studio smelled colder now, like the moment before a storm. With a sudden resolve, Whoopi turned to the camera, voice steady but fierce. "Truth has a way of coming out, and I'm not letting them silence it, not tonight." Suddenly, a message popped up on her phone. "They're watching. Be careful." Her eyes widened. Was this a threat or a warning? Outside, thousands of Black Americans were already gathering online, sharing the grainy footage, hungry for the truth. But what no one knew was what waited behind the silence, something darker and more dangerous than anyone imagined. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., a quiet room filled with shadowed figures buzzed with tension. A senator whispered into a phone, Traore's messages sparking a wildfire. We need to act now before this spreads. The air was thick with fear and panic, as if history itself was shaking the walls. Back in the studio, Whoopi's face reflected on every screen, her eyes burning with urgency. She wasn't just a host now. She was a guardian of a secret that could shake nations. Suddenly, the studio doors burst open. Security rushed in, faces grim. "This is an emergency shutdown," one barked. Whoopi's heart pounded. She had a choice. Stop now or risk everything to get the message out. Her hand hovered over the mic. Then, just as she was about to speak, her phone buzzed again. This time, a video message. She opened it, and the room fell silent. The screen showed a trembling young woman, tears streaming down her face. "Please," the woman begged, "help us, before it's too late." The woman's words echoed in Whoopi's mind. She glanced at Traore, who nodded quietly. The call for unity wasn't just a speech anymore. It was a lifeline. The woman's message revealed secret plans, forced relocations, broken promises, and families torn apart. Whoopi swallowed hard. She felt the weight of history pressing down, but also a spark of hope. "Black America," Traore's voice broke through again, calm but powerful. "This is our moment to stand together, to demand truth, to demand justice." Outside the studio, the city seemed to hold its breath. News spread fast. But then, a sudden blackout plunged the entire block into darkness. For a heartbeat, silence ruled. Then, a single candle flickered in the window across the street. What would the dawn bring? The blackout wasn't just a coincidence, it was a warning. In that thick darkness, people's phones glowed like tiny fires. Social media exploded with "Truth for Black America." But inside the studio, the silence was deafening. Whoopi's hand trembled over the mic, her breath shallow. Traore's eyes locked with hers, no words needed. Suddenly the door creaked open. A young intern stepped in, clutching a USB drive. "I found this," he whispered. "It has everything, the proof." The tension cracked like glass. Whoopi plugged the drive into the laptop. Files filled the screen. Documents, videos, secret recordings. A faint smell of burnt plastic wafted up from the cables, mixing with the cool night air sneaking in through a cracked window. The evidence was overwhelming. Covert deals, manipulated elections, stolen wealth. But just as Whoopi prepared to reveal it, the phone rang. An unknown number. She answered. A chilling voice said, "Stop now, or this will be the last call you ever make." Whoopi's heart thundered. The threat was real. But instead of fear, a fierce fire ignited inside her. "No," she said, steady and loud enough for the whole crew to hear. "We will not be silenced." Behind her, Traore stood taller, his presence a shield of strength. The camera rolled. Whoopi spoke directly to millions. "They want us afraid. But fear is their weapon, and we refuse to wield it." Meanwhile, viewers watched as the evidence played out on screen. Faces of leaders once trusted, caught in lies. But then, an unexpected shift. A tear slipped down Whoopi's cheek. "This isn't just about politics," she whispered. "It's about people. Families who suffer in silence every day." The room felt heavy with sorrow and hope. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the control room. The feed went dark again. The crew scrambled in confusion and fear. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Something was coming. Whoopi and Traore exchanged a look. This was bigger than they imagined. Then, through the static of their radios, a voice crackled. "Emergency lockdown in effect. Leave immediately." But the cameras kept rolling. capturing the raw moments of desperation and courage. A nearby window rattled as the wind howled, cold and sharp, like the truth they fought to expose. In that moment, Traore spoke quietly, almost to himself. "If we break now, everything is lost." The crew nodded, drawing strength from him. Suddenly, a shadow appeared at the door. Whoopi held her breath. The door creaked open, revealing someone no one expected. The door swung fully open. Standing there was an elderly man, his eyes sharp but kind. "Wait," he said, raising a trembling hand. "I'm here to help." No one moved. Suspicion hung in the air like thick smoke. Whoopi's voice was barely a whisper. "Who are you?" "My name is James," he replied. "I worked inside the system, long before you all were born. I know their secrets, and I want to make them known." Traore studied him carefully. There was truth in James's eyes, but also pain. James pulled a worn envelope from his coat. "This is proof, documents they never wanted anyone to see." The crew gathered around, eyes wide as James passed around the papers. Then, just as suddenly, the power flickered back on. The room filled with a strange mix of relief and dread. Outside, voices shouted. The blackout was over, but the fight was just beginning. Whoopi took a deep breath and faced the cameras once more. "This man is proof that the truth lives inside us all, sometimes hidden, sometimes scared to come out." The documents told stories of broken promises and stolen futures, but also of resilience and hope. Traore spoke next, his voice calm but fierce. "To all Black Americans, this is your moment. We cannot stay silent. Together we are stronger than those who want to divide us." Suddenly, a loud knock sounded at the studio door. Everyone froze. "Open up," a voice demanded. "The police? Or worse?" Whoopi's fingers hovered over the mic, but Traore raised his hand, signaling calm. "We will answer with truth," he said. The door opened slowly, revealing reporters hungry for the story. But behind the cameras, shadows moved. Not everyone was there to report. A man in a dark suit stepped forward, flashing a badge. "FBI," he announced. The room went cold. "Traore, Whoopi, we need to talk about the footage you aired. There are questions about its origin." Whoopi's pulse quickened. Were they here to help, or to shut everything down? Traore's eyes didn't waver. The people deserve the truth, no matter who tries to hide it. The agent's face softened for a moment. Then a whisper barely audible. "Not everyone in our agency agrees with the silence. There are allies, but they're scared." Whoopi exchanged a glance with Traore, an unexpected glimmer of hope. But outside, the city was restless, and danger was closing in. What would happen next? The FBI agent's words hung in the air like a fragile promise. Inside the studio, every heartbeat sounded louder. Whoopi felt the weight of the moment crushing down. If there are allies, we need them now. Our people deserve protection. Traore nodded, voice steady but heavy. "We stand at a crossroads, silence or courage." Suddenly, the studio doors burst open again. This time, it wasn't security or reporters. A group of activists entered, faces fierce with determination. "We're here to stand with you," their leader declared. A wave of hope swept through the room, yet the tension remained. The fight was far from over. Outside, a distant thunder rolled, an ominous sound that matched the storm brewing inside every heart. The activists brought stories of families torn apart by broken promises, children denied education, and communities left to suffer in silence. Whoopi's eyes filled with tears. This is why the truth must come out. Traore's voice broke through the emotion. "We cannot heal without first facing the pain." Suddenly, a phone buzzed sharply. Whoopi's hand shook as she read the message. "They're coming. Tonight." Fear rippled through the room, but it was mixed with resolve. The candle from earlier flickered again in the window across the street, a fragile symbol of hope in the darkness. They had no choice but to stand strong. As night deepened, the city outside seemed to hold its breath. Inside, whispers turned to plans. Traore looked at everyone, his voice firm. "We will share the truth, no matter the cost." Whoopi added, "This story isn't just ours. It belongs to every Black American who's been silenced." Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Everyone froze. The door opened slowly, revealing a familiar face. Someone thought lost to fear and silence. Tears welled in Whoopi's eyes as she recognized the visitor. "Why now?" she whispered. The visitor's answer was a broken breath. "Because I finally found my voice." The visitor stepped inside, face pale, but eyes fierce with courage. "I've stayed silent too long," she said, voice trembling. "But no more." The room held its breath as she shared a story of pain, family torn apart by lies, promises broken by those in power. Her words hit like thunder, shaking every heart. Traore reached out, steadying her. "Your voice is our strength." Outside, the city's distant sirens faded. The candle flickered brighter, defying the darkness. Hope felt fragile, but real. The studio became a beacon of truth in a world desperate for light. Whoopi looked into the camera, voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "To everyone watching, this is our call to unity. Stand together, speak the truth, break the silence." Traore added, "Change begins with us. The road is hard, but we walk it side by side." As they spoke, messages flooded in from across the nation. Stories of pain, courage, and the will to fight. The silence was breaking, but as dawn approached, a shadow loomed, one last test. Suddenly, the studio doors shook violently. "Open up!" a voice demanded. Fear gripped the room, but no one moved. Traore stepped forward, calm and unyielding. "You can try to shut us down, but the truth will always find a way." The door burst open, revealing not enemies, but a crowd of people. Neighbors, activists, everyday heroes, ready to stand with them. Tears flowed freely as hope triumphed over fear. The candle's flame burned steady in the window, an unbroken promise. The fight for truth and unity was just beginning. If this story moved you, hit like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire real change. Your voice matters. Don't stay silent.